This is a ruddy pup right here. You see this pup? Lucky, for anyone who wants to know. He is a yellow lab. Purebred. I know he's like the skinniest yellow lab in the history. Oh my god, it's cold. Come on. Come on. Oh shit, we're good. It's fine. Wait, see my breath. Lucky. There he is, folks. Identified. The hill crester. Or at least that's what I call it. Look at this beauty. I had an idea to do like a music video, like a performance here. It's a babbling brook to the right. A waterfall over there. You can't see shit. Babbling brook. Waterfall. You can kind of see it now. Valley. Refind it real quick, but it's that art. Prism, another kind of. Next we got snow. The snow. And moving on, we got sunrise. Lost simplicity, childhood. So underwater purgatory is we have virtual. Saw wave running. Now smooth groove, spacing out. We have blue magic. Over the hills and under the mountain, how to heal. Probably the best send-off song that I could have written, to be honest. It's every sound that I made in that song is like extremely nostalgic for me. Now you're going right here. That's a fine spot. So fine spot, laddie. I don't care if my hair is cut out of the screen. It's fine. And this light will not work for some reason, so you're gonna get bad lighting Ben. Which is, who cares? Hello. Hope you're doing well. I wanted to do a little documentary. I don't know, reflection of Portal, which is a big old album that I made, before I move on from it, because I feel if I just like make another song and just throw it on there, I'd feel like Portal meant really nothing. I don't. That's not the case. If I had more support, I would probably go out and maybe like tour it or something of the sort. But alas. But what this video is going to be is it's just going to be, I wanted to reflect on each song, maybe do like a music theory dive in, or just a meaning theory in general. For anyone who's curious or wants to learn more and enjoyed the album and wants to learn how the hell the songs were created music theory wise. I know spacing out's definitely gonna be one on the list, so I'll put like a timestamp for stuff, however the hell I do that. And yeah. So without further ado, I guess I'll start with the album theory, like just the album as a whole, what it means to me. So the majority of Portal, and I'm talking about like a good 70-80% of it, was made during quarantine. I started it at the beginning of quarantine and finished it like near the end of it. I don't think it's really kind of ended. There's still like aftermath right now, and I'm fine with that, but you know, as long as everyone's safe. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, I was like having high hopes for this album, and I was like because I had the ideas stored for when I was going to start actually working on each idea and completing each of them, and then like coming up with an order that would seem really cool. And when I started that for Portal, I did not expect to not be able to see anyone but my immediate family for the entire duration of that. So it kind of screwed with me a little bit when it comes to any sort of outlet. I mean, I'm an introvert, but I have my limits. I need some sort of fucking, I have some sort of extroversion. I don't believe anyone's 100% introverted. If you find someone, why hair? If you find someone that is like entirely 100% introverted, it's never the case. That is just a half step in the path. Also, I'd like to reiterate, you may know this, you may not, but I'm just me. Like, the entirety of everything that you've seen underneath Hevisto is me. Like, no one's helped me on this. It's just me. And I mean, like, I have gotten like tips and stuff from like any online thing that I could find that would give me any sort of help when it comes to production. And I feel like I'm pretty damn good. But there's obviously things that I could continuously learn, and I'm still learning. And Portal definitely helped my knowledge not only of music theory but of sound design and mixing and how to make things sound good. So that's another thing. And I mean, how do I feel about the outcome? Would be the outcome of Portal. I'm honestly happy. I am fine that it reached people. I mean, like not a large amount, but a substantial amount, and I have Newgrounds to thank for that. So thank you very much. I appreciate you very much. So, and I can say that I will definitely be making more stuff on Newgrounds. That's for sure. And I need to think about what the hell I'm about to say. Portal is everything that I've wanted to create in a very long time. It's how I feel I sound in electronic music. It's what I've tried to find for a very long time for my sound. And could I have worked on it a little bit longer? Yes, but I wanted to let go. I was already making new things after Portal, and I hadn't released it. And it just became like you need to work more on this. It's not ready. It's never ready. And I was just like, fuck it, it is. I'm gonna put it on the web or something. I don't know. And it's gonna be fine. And I did, and I'm very happy I did. I'm very happy with each song. I love the path that I've created from Prism to How to Heal. I really love each song. Each song has a very deep meaning with me, even if there's no lyrics. That's another thing. Is I wanted to do an album that was just an instrumental with no lyrics, because I really miss albums like that are electronic, to be specific. Not that lyrics are bad. Lyrics are awesome. I feel like they they're in some ways they convey a really cool message that increase the actual production or hype of a song or meaning. I don't know. But a lot of the times lyrics are great. Lyrics do great things. But I came into listening to music without lyrics. That's what got me hooked on music, was just electronic music without lyrics per se. Maybe there's chants or something, but that's about it. Lyrics were one of those things that I just never really bonded with, I guess. I may make songs in the future with lyrics, but I wanted the first album per se that I make to just be something without lyrics, because I feel I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but moral of the story is I like instrumentals. I'm super proud of what I made. It's something that I feel sounds like me, and searching for that ever since I started making music. I started off being okay, what I'm gonna make is just gonna be these big old power chords and half-step melodies trap thing. And that's what I settled on at first, with Shatter and Dimensions. But I kind of veered off a little bit and went to Portal, and Portal is definitely still my sound. It's just a different part of it. And I feel the original sound that I was going for may still pick back up. Don't worry. I still have ideas that evolve around that sound. Okay, I think I'm done. Other than saying that that I will come back to the original sound that I was doing, and I will make stuff that is more Portal oriented. I love everything that I've made. Well, maybe that may be a lie, but no, I love everything that I've made, because it's gotten me to the point that I am now, which is an awesome point. I feel great. And also, just Portal does reflect the atmosphere of just in general quarantine, for me at least. I never really came to think of it that way. But I was definitely on my own making this. Like, this was just me. My motivation was me. My drive was me, same thing. My optimism was entirely me. The ideas were me. I've sound designed basically everything in there. There are like no presets at all. I mean, drum samples, but like I can't synthesize drums yet. I've tried. I can. It takes a while. I'll need time for that. And another thing that may have delayed the album a little bit was schools and college. Senior in high school right now, going into college pretty soon, probably for sound design, audio engineering, that I really like to do. Yeah, I have that plans that I'm trying to juggle. This is kind of still a hobby. It's still fine as a hobby, but if I could continue it and make it something better, I would be the most grateful person on the planet. Like, you've no idea. This is what I would love to do. I would love to do this for a living if I could. There's always financial boundaries and time boundaries, and usually those go away when people think of what you're doing as something that's great and something that they believe in. That's kind of the beauty of it that I really love, and the reason that I kind of got into music. One of my favorite creators, you may know him, you may not, is Markiplier, and the whole reason he grew was because he fucking asked for it. And I guess I'm trying to do the same thing here, but at the same time, I feel like I've given some, if not the bare minimum of evidence of that you guys could believe in me. Like, I've given like a good stable foundation, I guess. And I feel like that's Portal. And Portal is the first thing that I'm 100% proud of, will show off to anybody. Like, I never did that with any of my tracks, but like when it came to Portal, it's just like, oh, you make music? Yeah, make an album. It's Portal. Here. That's what I show them, because it's amazing. I really enjoy what I made. Alright, so, first things first, we're gonna dive into the album here. I'll start with Prism. Excuse me. And we'll move on just in chronological order. Alright, so I've found a kind of good spot right now. It's the only tree I could hang this phone up against that it would not fall over. So, okay, I guess I can start with Prism here. We'll do meaning behind Prism, and we'll go back inside and do a music theory thing. So Prism, to me, was definitely like the song that it almost inspired the whole album, pretty much, I'd say. It's definitely like it's Prism. Like, I felt like I was in a prism almost. Like, if I'm gonna be inside for a really long ass time, I might as well make that inside area a really cool creative area. So I made it so I was stuck inside a prism rather than stuck inside a prison. And at the same time, a lot of the wave tables, or the waves in Prism, were made from square waves, so or like variations of square waves. So it felt natural to call it a prism, because prisms are pretty dang square, and they're kind of too, but like there's square parts of them as well. So that felt cool, or like crystal or something. And a lot of the sounds sound very crystallized, so I thought that was kind of cool. Moving on to Snow. Snow was definitely how I wanted to feel. I missed the old feeling of Snow that was not tainted by quarantine. The old feeling of Snow when there was first the atmosphere, just felt awesome. Being outside was super fun, and being inside felt like amazing. You felt cozy, you felt comforted, you felt like, you know, there really wasn't anything stopping you from doing what you wanted to do. Whereas quarantine Snow, it was the same atmosphere, yet it was different. And the original Snow is just, I wanted the old Snow atmosphere to come back, so I kind of made that into a song. Moving on to Sunrise. Sunrise is very much like metaphorical and literal at the same time, because it was inspired by an actual sunrise that I saw. I woke up in the morning, randomly, very early during quarantine, like 5 in the morning, and went out into the meadow over there, which you saw earlier, and just sat and waited for the sunrise. And I saw it, and I was a little sad, to be honest. So, because I missed not only being able to see that without limits, but being able to see that carefree. And then in that moment I felt a little stressed, and like nothing was really going my way, and then this thing just effortlessly crested over the hill, which just felt kind of bad. It made me feel a little bad. So, but at the same time, it was definitely necessary because it kind of kicked my ass into overdrive a little bit. And at the same time, the metaphorical sunrise was that I kind of changed my sound after sunrise a little bit. Like, Snow and Prism were very similar in terms of structure, and then sunrise comes along and it's just a grand opening into a drum part, and then it kind of fades out. But that's it. And it works somehow. What is that a leaf? I saw that in the phone. It's still there. Right there. Okay, it's just wind. But yeah, sunrise I adore. So, Lost Simplicity is definitely, like, there's a few things to it. One, I guess, is the obvious meaning for this is childhood. Growing up is very simplistic. You kind of just follow your other people's agenda, but at the same time, you have all the answers right then and there that you somehow forget as you grow older, as you're given other rules. It's interesting how the evolution of childhood just kind of goes, and the mentality for that. So obviously that, but at the same time, Lost Simplicity is kind of like a love letter to older electronic music, because older electronic music is like just this thing that I've really kind of missed for a really long time. Not like it's not that I don't appreciate newer stuff. I do. But at the same time, the older stuff was the stuff that inspired the newer stuff a large percentage of the time. So it's definitely a love letter, and the structure is very, very, like, simplistic as well. In that, like, it's a grand opening to a piano section, to a build, to a pretty long drop. But that's at the same time what older electronic music kind of used to be. And also, I just love the mixing in it. It's like 3 different chord patches playing that I made, playing like different notes of the chord and switching in between harmonies by making the melody, and it's awesome. I love it. You've heard it probably, maybe. But Lost Simplicity is an awesome track. It's super freeing, and it's like Fly, you know? You want to fly. An awesome track. I really like it. Moving on to Underwater Purgatory is another one of those tracks that definitely was a name that struck a chord when it came to quarantine. It felt very quarantine-esque. The name was very quarantine-esque. I felt underwater. I felt like I was in quarantine. I felt like I was in purgatory of some sort, mentally. But at the same time, I really love just the plain music in that one. It's super cool. I like it a lot. And at the same time, it's like I never like the drop that I made was very spontaneous. I made it out of like an experiment, and I liked it. So I thought I like wondered what it sounded like with like a proper build and a grand section before, and then when it came into it, I was just like, whoo, I don't know if I like this or not. And then after a really long time of listening to it, I decided that I really fucking liked it, and I kept it in. And for sure, one of my favorite ideas going into the album. Coming into Virtual. Virtual was just fun to make. Like, it had so much cool sound design in it that was like stuff that I enjoyed making, and it was an experiment, but at the same time, it didn't feel like I was like risking anything, or like risking a bad outcome, and like risking the feeling of like failure and trying to do something again. It felt like I was experimenting, yet I knew what I was doing, and it was gonna make sense. So it was an experiment, but at the same time, it almost wasn't. It's really weird to explain. But Virtual was drum and bass, which is something that I was always wanted to create, because drum and bass is such an awesome genre.
And some would argue that it's not because it doesn't have just the sold bass drop. It's like it's just like distorted bass sounds and like same with like the frequencies or something. Some would argue it's not. It's not like muzzy or anything like that, but like it's definitely still like I don't even know if it's drum and bass or not. I don't know. I just took the drum pattern and that's what I got. I really appreciate Virtual. It's almost like Lost Simplicity in a ways, and it's a love letter to AVM, to be honest. Moving on from Virtual, we have Sawwave Wind, which is definitely where I really delve deep into experimentation, for sure. And fun fact about Sawwave Wind is that I will probably mention this in the music tutorial portion, is that like it's definitely a chord progression that I've had for a very, very long time. Another thing with Sawwave Wind is that it was just super freeing, to be honest, to finally create with that chord progression and finally find something that's structured and cool and sounds like you and is original from that chord progression, which is something that I've wanted to create. I have like so many files on my computer that are just with that chord progression that I've tried to create like multiple times or recreate and failed. And then Sawwave Wind came around and I was just like, what if I just fucked everything over and just did this like really weird thing that's just increasing in volume and like reverb the entire time from start to finish with like atmosphere. And I did that, and that inspired me, and somehow I created the whole thing. I don't know how my brain works, but somehow that was the cool thing that made it cool. But yeah, Sawwave Wind, definitely a euphoric moment when I finished that one. Knew it was gonna go on the album. Oh, Smooth Groove. Smooth Groove was definitely one of those ones that I just, I had so much fun making that one. It started off with just like an idea that I wrote down with like the offbeat thing, and then I threw that into like an idea project file, and it was just like, I'll probably never revisit this, but I'll save it, just why not? And then I came back to it, and it really inspired me, and I was just like, I guess I could kind of create with this, and I did, and I kind of delved deep into music theory when it came to that piano part, and then it just became a groove, a smooth groove.
Get off the stage!
Bye, sorry. Alright, I'm back, I need to keep talking. Smooth Groove for sure was, I wanted to show a playful side of the album. I didn't want it to just entirely be this, like, emotional journey. It felt fairly similar until Smooth Groove, and that's when I kind of flipped the switch a little bit. I did that with Sawwave Wind anyway, but at the same time, Smooth Groove really feels like it's where the switches, flips were switched and switched were flips. And moving on from Smooth Groove, we got, what you guys obviously thought was the best track, or maybe it was just the track that got front page, and that's why everyone likes it, because everyone saw it and didn't look at the other ones. Spacing Out was definitely a gigantic music theory experiment. I said fuck you to scales and kind of just created a chord progression that it went in between major, minor, ninths, and you'll see that in the music theory area. And from that, birthed Spacing Out. And it's kind of just like the same chord progression run over 6 times. But I kind of reevaluate it in different ways. But at the same time, it's spacing out. Like, it sounds like someone's spacing out, which is honestly kind of crazy. I did not expect to get that outcome. Spacing Out was definitely a fun track to make. And it's probably one of my... one of the tracks that I'm most proud of making. One not only because like that was the one that kind of quote unquote blew up. At the same time, it's definitely the one that with the chord progression, close tie with Blue Magic. It's definitely the one that I'm most proud of the chord progression that I came up with, because that was entirely calculated by me. Like, I knew what I was doing every chord of the time, which is rare for me. Usually I'm just kind of guessing and like, oh, that sounds cool, where can I go from here? But this one is just like, what if I just go down, down, down by half steps with the melody and then create a chord progression that goes with it? Will that sound good or will it sound jazzy? And it ended up sounding kind of cool, so yay. Alright, next up we got Blue Magic, and I can say that right now I don't know the music theory for Blue Magic. It was entirely by ear is how I created Blue Magic. It was just, this sounds cool, let's go to here, let's go to here, let's go to here. it was not like me, it was not calculated in comparison to spacing out. Blue Magic was entirely by ear. I created it entirely by ear, and at the same time, it's definitely what I wanted to create in terms of in my experimental side, because I've wanted to achieve like this like it's like full, but at the same time it's like really super glitchy and like sounds like it was a mistake, but at the same time it's beautiful, which is a really cool thing that I've always wanted to create in music, but at the same time is really hard to create in music as well. But Blue Magic was definitely part of the experimental side, and I absolutely love the track. I may my only regret is I didn't go fucking crazy with the bass line when I posted it. Maybe I'll do something else with the crazy bass line, but that's only changing the bass line. If I were to change it up, I would probably do it in like the live version or something like that, but can't do that. And finally, you have Over the Hills and Under the Mountains, which is just a victory track, to be honest. Similar to Saw Wave Wind, I've had that chord progression for such a long time. Like Saw Wave Wind, the chord progression there, and the chord progression for Over the Hills and Under the Mountains, I've like stored that in an ideas file, like way before Portal, even like before like my first like 5 songs that I've made. I still have ideas right now that I haven't entirely fleshed out that I know are going to be good when I do. Over the Hills and Under the Mountains was definitely one of those tracks where I just like, it symbolized how I felt at the end. It just was like, and like, obviously you're wondering, why are you at the end? Well, because I'll get to how to heal. That's going to be like the longest explanation in the history of ever. But Over the Hills and Under the Mountains is definitely like, you've created something that you spent a very long time on. You don't have to keep going, really. You can stop. And I did for a little bit. For a good like month or so, I stopped creating. No. Good like 2 weeks actually. I can't get away from music for that much. I love it too much. But I stepped away for a little bit, and Over the Hills and Under the Mountains is definitely one of those tracks that I just love. It's just, no matter the mix or how big it could have been, it sounds like me. It's great. I love it. I love the feeling that it creates. It's what I always want to feel when I'm creating music, when I'm actually creating music that I can move forward with and have ideas for, and it's inspiring me. That's Over the Hills and Under the Mountains is definitely the feeling that it evokes, is creating music that you know is going to be good, and you're keep going, and you're like looking forward to every day to go back to the project file and like keep making. That's definitely the feeling that Over the Hills and Under the Mountains evokes. Or for short, you could also refer to Over the Hills and Under the Mountains as Ophitum, because if you take each of the first letters of it, it could be Ophitum. And I was gonna call it Ophitum because that sounds like a fucking awesome word from like some otherworldly planet's like capital or like country. The Ophitums are coming, something. But I feel like Over the Hills and Under the Mountains would have been better because people wouldn't have the real way to refer to it as Ophitum. But now you can, so that's cool for you. Alright, and final track, which, brace yourself, this is going to have a lot of meaning to, is How to Heal. And this track is, I think, one of, if not the best ending that I could have tied into for Portal. I love How to Heal. How to Heal is just, it's perfect. It's what I want. It's how I create. It's everything, really. It's simplistic to the point where like a music producer would know, oh, that's how you created stuff, and that's how you created it. But at the same time, it's simplistic to the point where it's not that, oh, they don't look down on you, or I don't look down on myself for creating something that simplistic, because I think the music theory comes back at it for it and goes up and beyond my points of expectation, and the feeling that it evokes in comparison to how easy it was made is bigger than the amount of like work that I put into it. So I feel like I can respect the song entirely because of the fact that the feeling that it evokes is amazing. It's simplistic. It doesn't require some gigantic chord pad for it to sound very emotional. And it's very minuscule, yet at the same time, it evokes a feeling. It evokes a very strong feeling that, like, Prism could have done, that Snow could have done, that fucking Sunrise could have done. Like, any of those tracks could have evoked a feeling, and How to Heal, its feeling is one with that, if not above that, in terms of how strong it is and how strong it resonates with me. That's what I love about How to Heal. But at the same time, it's a little bit of a love letter to not only like people who have actually listened to my music and like it, which are a lot of my friends now, and people in the world that I've met online, but at the same time to just myself in general. It's really hard because I have no self-sympathy at all. Like, I have, like, when I fail, I never feel bad for myself. I always feel like I could have done better, or like I could have kept going, or like I don't need to stop right then and there, and I need to keep going. But at the same time, that's not a healthy thing to say. And at the same time, if you give yourself credit for stopping, or like stopping something that was a torturous project, or like something that you didn't like, you never were looking forward to doing, never something that even if it was hard, but like you knew the outcome was going to be good, but in this case the outcome wasn't good, and you knew that was going to happen from the beginning. How to Heal is entirely about just stopping when you know it's not going to be good for you or anyone else. I finished Portal, and that's what I wanted to do, really. I wanted to stop, because I was in that process of, I want to keep going, I want to keep creating, I want to add more things to each and every track, and like, just keep adding and adding and adding. And I knew if I kept doing that, Portal would have probably been released in January 2022, because I would have been so stressed of that nothing's perfect, nothing is perfect here, and I would have absolutely destroyed my mental health trying to do something, and it would have not only affected me, but affected people that I love in general, and it would have not been a great process for me. And obviously you guys wouldn't have gotten the album as early, but at the same time, me releasing it now, even if in my mind it's not perfect, it's fine. It's great how it is. It's amazing how it is, and I re-listened to it. Even when I did release it, I was just like, no one's gonna like it because it's not done yet. It's not done yet. And I stood, and for 3 days I had that mindset, and then on the 4th day I re-listened to it, and I absolutely loved it. It was a great album. It was everything that I wanted to create. I was unprepared to be happy that day. This concludes the meaning behind each song. And I already did the meaning of the entire album, so thank you. And How to Heal has like so many other things that I could put into it, but at the same time, there's another thing that I want to put in there, is that How to Heal is up to interpretation, and the entire album and each song isn't up into interpretation for you. This is just how I interpreted it, the artist. But at the same time, I feel like any artistic expression should be up into interpretation. And however you interpreted it, maybe you interpreted it more beautiful than I could have. And it's better for you than it is for me. So don't let my opinion taint yours. That's happens all the time, and don't let it happen. If you have a meaning that you think is there and you think it's better than mine, keep that meaning. Go for it, dude. My meaning's shit then. Thank you for listening to me ramble up on what I think each song is. And, yeah. We'll go back inside.
Alright. So a new day has dawned. I think it's been like 3 days since I made the little recording of me doing the meetings in the woods and forth. And that's because I've been at school, I've been visiting colleges and stuff like that. And I've been looking in my future, stuff like that. But it's been 3 days, and I'm here for the music theory thing. So we shall dive right into it, because, yeah. So I can start with Portal, I guess, which is the, there's a trailer track, if you didn't know, which it has, like, basically almost like the feel of the album, and it's just me going throughout my daily routine, which I've memorized. I will never forget what I was doing during quarantine. It's almost the same thing every day. It was an interesting feeling, to be honest. I don't know if I like it, I don't know if I didn't. It was neutral. It was a lot of just neutral. And I will say that most of the album is in D major. It's a D major ninth, but that's like the realm of G major, D major, and A major, and like going in between all the minors in that scale. So E minor, B minor, and F sharp minor. Which that's like my favorite place to write music, is in that realm, in that one realm of the circle of fifths. And obviously G flat major, or F sharp major, however you want to call it. That realm has also been in a couple of songs as well. I don't know why, but with a scale with a lot of flats and sharps in it sounds. Super nice. It's another part of home, yet it has nothing in relation to my usual home, but that felt very home-like. And there's obviously a bunch of songs that I made that just said F you to sang into one entire scale, which is spacing out, obviously. So, yeah, we'll start with Portal. Let me re-find it here, it's been a while. I don't have a face cam, or like the GoPro thing. I wish I did, but I can describe it basically. So, it's gonna be bad because you can't even see the piano, but basically, I can describe it. So, that's an A major chord, obviously. Just move it up right here. Move the root note up to B, and I actually don't know what this is. Sustained something? No, that would be sustainable. But I moved it up to here. Which anything like that just has like a doodly feel if you move it up a little bit. It's kind of doodly. This is going to have to suffice, unfortunately, but you can still kind of see where I'm playing right here. So it's basically, you take the actual A major chord, and take the top and the bottom down here, and you have this arp, and you just, on the offbeat, you just play this. If you want, you can add pedal. Well, not like that much. The main arp that I put in Portal. Obviously, I messed around with the harmonies a bit. It was at first just a with like, there's strings in it. There's like string instruments that are playing in the background. And obviously, at first, I like played just specifically. And like that was the string melody that went underneath. But then I added a few things. I think I went up here. No, here. Higher or something. I messed around with it until I found something that I liked and sounded very like it brought it to life. I am a lot better at explaining things when I'm on the computer or when I make it on a digital audio workstation. When I'm making stuff on a digital audio workstation, mine's FL Studio. I love that. DAW in particular. But there's definitely a different mindset when you're working with it, specifically with like VSTs and synthesizers versus being on a piano. And it's not a bad thing, to be honest. Like it's not a bad thing to have a different mindset and make it like inferior or something. They're both very like authentic ways to make music, but I feel better when I'm on the computer because I can sound design. I'm really good at sound designing. I'm mediocre at music theory, but I can describe it and I can make it up, and I can still do key changes. I still experiment a bit. I can find cool things. All right, so that was Portal. That was the art for it. And we're moving on to Prism. I wish I knew how to play guitar, because guitar you could easily see what I'm doing right now. It would be so easy to show you. This is what I'm playing, because I don't have to, like, I can move the instrument. It's like mobile. But on the piano, it's fairly, I wish I had a GoPro of some sort. That'd be so easy. But no, unfortunately I do not. So Prism is just another kind of, it's this D major arp, except I bring it down. So it's almost, it's this with just extra dissonance up here. Obviously there's like a little like chord play on the bottom, like a like with the drum beat, kick on, snare off kind of thing going on. And there's like a little counter melody. Something like that. It was a belt. I played it, and I worked it in between the lines there to make it a little bit more catchy. And obviously I haven't practiced playing these pieces in a very long time because I completed them. So it's been a while. But yeah, that's the basic structure, and then obviously it comes in with the... And that's the melody that plays underneath the... goes to town. It's basically a variation, and it's me mostly playing around with rhythm, sound design, space, octaves, yeah, and I make it work. But obviously, dwelling in D major is definitely a really fun place to be, and it felt like what I wanted for an opening track. So, yeah. All right, next we got Snow, which is another ARP. I've noticed I really like to start off my songs with ARPs, which ARPs are cool. ARPs are very inspiring. They incorporate rhythm with harmony as well. That's like what an ARP is, basically. And it brings out each note in a different way. Like this chord right here, for instance, sounds so much better if you just like... you can just go anywhere with that, really. Even like... if your heart desires to go places. When I start off Snow, it's another ARP, really. So... So we are in a F sharp major home, and started off with another 7th chord. Melody and the mixing and the first like grand where like the kick drum is very 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 boom boom and like the atmosphere is legit the chords, like it's big, and it's not like a giant like really massive saw wave thing. It's more of just a developed with like sidechain rhythm and a really smack dab kick. Which also another thing that I really like with kicks is I never really use the bass in a kick. It's usually just like it's almost that like it's just like nothing gigantic really, because you don't really need bass in kicks is what I found. The more I play around with it, the more like I realize that you don't need that. Bass is usually the thing that makes bass. Kicks aren't really supposed to go in and make bass. With the chord progression that I made with the arps. So on the bottom half it would be, let's see if I can play this. That'd be a no. There's some things that I really like and I've really created, but at the same time, I experimented with playing it on the piano, and like that melody goes right up here, and this chord progression goes down to that is a bass note. So like how the flap jack and like that's how wide it is right now. It's like my whole hand length. But that's almost like the basis of Snow. I think I play around with the melody a bit, but the chords are pretty much the same, and the bass line stays fairly similar. I play around with it a bit, but that's the basis. That's where we're at. And the sound design is really like the actual sounds, not the melody. The melody is beautiful, obviously, but the sounds are what brings Snow to life for me, at least. Because like if there were different sounds incorporated, I would just been like, it's mediocre. But like I don't know, the amount of like where it's like a really hard kick and like the atmosphere is almost like wind or snow per se. And moving on, we got Sunrise. I love this one. We're in D major, but we transfer to A major in the chord progression constantly. And what I do is I mess around with the harmony, and I like add more notes, add more harmonies, making it bigger and bigger and bigger. Not just in terms of frequency. Like I wanted something that grew from something very basic to something very elaborate and big, and not just with like frequency, because there's a difference between filling frequency and filling like music. Because like I've heard things that like take up all the frequencies, yet they're only like, I don't know, like one chord basically, but they take up all the frequencies. Like that's possible, you can do that, cool. But I wanted something that where the more notes you put on equaled the amounts of more frequency that you put on, and it built up from there. That's what Sunrise is. In this case, we are forming from this. The initial idea was A to A, and it's grand each time. You can hear it in the song when I first do that, and then from there I build up with that, and like that becomes like a common thing, like almost like you notice it each time, yet it's like and there are harmonies on the bottom helping that flow a little bit better. That's Sunrise. Sunrise is one of my favorite tracks for sure. Now we're coming into probably my favorite thing, because this is actually this idea for I'm talking about Lost Simplicity. Lost Simplicity came from an idea on the piano, not an idea on the computer. Like, I played Lost Simplicity when I found it. It was just basically, it's the same chord as Snow, really. So this is Snow, and this is Lost Simplicity. It's almost the same starting spot, except we're going up into a little bit of a ninth, but we're still using that top dissonance, but we go up into a ninth. Except we give that dissonance purpose by adding a little bit of a melody within the arp. I absolutely love this progression. I don't know why, but it's awesome. It was something along those lines, but wow, I don't know why. It's great. I love when something goes from a dissonant back to, in this case, this is, I think, a sustain, and then to a power chord, back to that. It's so nice. It's really hard for me to not do that all the time, and I do in this album, but that's like one of my favorite things. Like, I can do that anywhere. That wasn't a good example, but that's something a little bit different. It's a little bit different. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Lost Simplicity plays around with that, and I obviously there's a part in it where there is piano, and it is actually a recording. Well, no, it's not a recording, actually. It's a VST, but it's basically like I could play it, but I'd have to play it in 2 separate takes, because like the melody on top is unreachable, because the chord progression on the bottom requires 2 hands. Like, you cannot. This is like impossible to play with one hand. A ninth. I can barely play it. And I mean, like, there's 6 notes in this chord, therefore I have 5 fingers, and it like spreads more than an octave apart. It's very hard. So I wouldn't be able to play that with both hands, as well as the melody of it. Something along that line. Dun, 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 dun. One thing that I really like about Lost Simplicity is the music theory of it is gorgeous. It's also very simplistic. It's almost the same thing. It actually, I take that back. It is pretty much the same progression the entire time, yet it's approached differently, and melodies make it sound different in a different way. I said different like twice there. But Lost Simplicity for sure is simplistic, yet at the same time, it's awesome, which is, I don't know, maybe I'll drift away from that with time, but for now, I really love Lost Simplicity. So Underwater Purgatory is actually one of the progressions that I made on the computer, therefore I don't really think I can try to transfer it, yet it's going to be interesting. So for the ARP, I believe... That was it. Okay, yeah, I think I got that. So, it's got a lot of dissonance in that bad boy. So it's built up fairly high. So this is C minor. It's in C minor, by the way. And you keep going up with C minor by like in the 7th realm. this like C minor area at the moment, but at the same time it transfers over to B flat major from time to time as well. And I didn't notice that until recently. Like, I made the song and I was just like, oh, cool, C minor. Yay. I didn't exactly know what to do about it, but then like I was like, oh wait, it kind of does take aspects from here, because it never really hits this key right here, which is part of the C minor scale, which is it's right there, which makes it minor. But if you take that out and make this, if it was flat, if you make it sharp, I guess. Not counting that fluke, but if you start from B flat, it becomes a major scale. So the chord progression is actually fairly cool. Like, so I would say that the ending is leaning towards more of the more of a major side. It's pretty cool, actually. But yeah, that's Underwater Purgatory, and I think I already played the art. But yeah, the chord progression is actually really, it like takes aspects from both a minor and a major scale. In this case, kind of weirdly unrelated major and minor scales, but at the same time very related, because there's only one note that's different. Because like I do that all the time with like a G major and D major, there's only one note difference, and it's easy to change keys between these two. I was doing that with I knew C minor, but I didn't know that one at the time, and then like as soon as I learned it, I was just like, wait a minute, these are one note difference, so hey, that's a connection there I did not know existed. So yeah, I also forgot to mention about the bass line. It kind of goes all over the place. At first, when it's just like the normal just chord, this bass line stays, and it changes with the chord. So like when it goes from here to here, not that, but that would have been a cool riff, to here, it just does that. Just goes between those notes. When it goes from here to here, it's still playing the normal chord, and it's like two patterns. It's and those are the two patterns. But yeah, moving on from Underwater Purgatory though, we have Virtual, which is another thing that I did come up with on the piano, which I think I can play. But it's two chords really, and it works. And that's the basis of it. Most of the stuff in there evolves with that chord progression, but it's also another ninth chord. You will find that there are a ton of sevenths and ninths throughout this album. Those are like one of my favorite chords to come to. when it comes to any sort of progression or start on. And I'm working through that. It's almost like a bad habit, to be honest, to just route back to 7th and 9th world, but I'm working past that. And soon, it'll be interesting without him, I know. Just 7th and 9th are just super... It's not like I'm going to abandon them. I'm going to incorporate them, but not all the time. But, like, for Portal, they work. They work completely fine. I don't know why I have this urge to just be like, hey, you can't do that, do something else, be original. Which in reality is fucking music. You can do whatever the hell you want in it, as long as you think it sounds good. But yeah, that's Virtual. Saw Wave Wind. Oh my god, I've had Saw Wave Wind like before. This is a very old track that I've had for a very long time that I have like recreated multiple times on like my computer to like just bring it back, I guess. Like this was the one project file that I found that I loved that was incorporated in the album was the one that you've heard. And Saw Wave Wind starts off with just C major 9, goes up in circle of fifths, then D major, and down a bit. We're back here. I love this one, and it's only 9ths actually, but obviously you have the because the main real change that you can hear, like obviously that's slightly hearable, but when it goes from there to, it's like, oh damn, we're somewhere else now, and then we kind of stay there a little bit. So that's the main change that most people can hear, and they're like, ooh, that's spice. I like that spice. But also this melody that. Oh my god, that was awful. That melody forever, and I've wanted to do something with it for such a long time, and I finally incorporated it, and it's off my plate. I'm happy. But at the same time, Saw Wave Wind was definitely where the experimentation started, and I didn't intend for it to be this long, but it did. And at the end also, you'll hear at the end that in the melody it's like that. Now you're probably like, And it's similar to Sunrise in that it transfers to A major. It's a little bit of a change there. Instead of because the melody relies on G major, but when you hear this note, you're like, oh, something's wrong. In contrast with that, it doesn't sound all that good. But with the chord progression at the end, I make it work, and it sets the stage really well for Smooth Groove, which is a very much experimental track as well. You're crooked. How dare you? So Smooth Groove is one of those tracks that, like, I make a lot of tracks that sound similar to Smooth Groove, and they're just, like, extensions of, like, 9th, 7th, 11th, and they just go kind of bonkers. But at the same time, I really like making stuff like that, just doodly, and just doesn't make sense, and it's just fun to make. The melodies are just so simple, it's just... That's legit the first melody, but played over the chord progression, it sounds banger. And then there's the second one that comes in the second half that's... play. Turns out the smooth groove chord progression isn't actually impossible to play. It's actually kind of nice. It's... Okay, so this is actually pretty cool. I didn't notice this before. But starts off good old G major 9. And then, so there's two chord progressions going on actually. There's like one up top and one below, and it's... And then basically what happens is just, this goes up here, and this also goes. And then it just extends up this circle of fifths to... And then together... Whoa, wrong one. And then on the second round, it goes up to here, even farther. And then it does a little key change here. And then this is weird. It's like... It's actually the same chord, I think. Just, you should throw it down. Smooth Groove was definitely just like a really cool experiment that I did. Next track, Spacing Out, which is... Honestly, I'm super proud of this one, specifically for the fact that I know the music theory for it. I actually know the music theory for this one, which is great. It's, believe it or not, the melody for Spacing Out is this slowed down. That's the melody. Yeah, just slow it down to... Just kind of keep going. But if I'm being honest, I could have kept going and like routed back. If see, I'm at F here, and then it goes down to the like F right here, and then it goes to a minor. Only slightly. It doesn't go all the way. It just goes. Just that note moves down. And then, what if I went here? So you can legit work your way from the top of the piano to the bottom of the piano that way. And I couldn't, I could have started on C, and that would have given me a completely different melody area. Because what happens, here's the pattern. So it's B major 9, and then it goes down to B flat, and then it's just the note. Just the second note of the chord moves down to the minor, not this. I could have done that, but I stayed major and only made it slightly minor by moving the second note of the chord down a half step. So we're at here, move it down a half step to make it a little minor. Then, since we hit A up top, we're at A major. And then it goes down one. Makes it a little minor, and then go to G, go here and make it a little minor, and then go to F, but instead I cut it for a 4-chord progression. So it went B, A, G, F. And yeah, that's spacing out. There's a lot more minorities going on, but it's mainly just moving around the circle of fifths using just a half-step melody and ninths and putting in a little minor stuff in there. But I love that one because I know how to play that one, and the idea came from experimenting on the piano. So yeah, spacing out is definitely a cool one for sure. I love that one a lot. Now next we have Blue Magic, which is one of the progressions that I cannot play the melody with the chords. The chords are one too big, and the melody messes around with the inner voices of the chords and adds some, sometimes removes, and sometimes works with like the mid melody rather than the top one. But I will play the chords here, and then after that I'll play the melody. Blue Magic is more of like an improvisation that I just had that I then threw on, that I immediately forgot after I improvised it. But we'll try again here. Close enough. Obviously the melody is... come back to it. It doesn't really change from there. I mess around. Blue Magic was mostly about like the cool like white noise, along with like vinyl crackle with like the really long side chain. That was like that was cool, and I kind of just liked that harmony, so I kept it, and I made a thing out of it. And I think at the end there's another harmony. I'm gonna recheck that real quick. Yes, there is. There is a little harmony at the end. And then it ends with a big ol'... Oh my gosh. If I were to perform that, I definitely need to practice it for sure, because I'm nowhere near performance confidence with this piece, but it is still a really cool-ass piece. I didn't come up with the music theory on the piano, I came up with the music theory on a computer. So that's the main reason it sounds mediocre. on the piano right now. Similar to Saw Wave Wind, I've had this idea for a very, very, very long time. Like before I ever even like posted a song or anything like that, I've had this idea for a very long time, and that is Over the Hills and Under the Mountains. And this chord progression right here, it's a 4-chord progression I've had forever. I just love it. It's so nice. It's so nice. I use that as like a basis and like developed harmonies around it. The first part's obviously like the. I remember I made that string melody a very long time ago, or in this case, it's like almost like a pling. That's what I like to call it, because it's like the noise that it makes. Then after that, you come into this grand. Well, I'll play it one second. So it turns out it's unplayable, but I mean, it still evolves around the. It still evolves around that, in that it's basically. Yeah, it's so hard to reach. And then it comes back to. Yeah, Over the Hills and Under the Mountains is definitely a wondrous journey for sure. It's something along those lines, but it's a really triumphant melody above the big harmonies that are going on here. I don't know, what did I just... Whatever that was super cool, and it was in the key of Over the Hills and Under the Mountains. Maybe like VIP ideas? I don't know. That was really cool. That was Over the Hills and Under the Mountains. It's a chord progression I've had forever, and I'm so happy that it came through with this song. We're reaching the end right now. It's kind of crazy. So we have the final song here, How to Heal, and it's probably the best send-off song that I could have written, to be honest. It's every sound that I made in that song is like extremely nostalgic for me. Like there's like a video game lead that sounded exactly like certain like analog stuff. And for some people, it's like, this little bleep bloops. But for me, it's like that holds a place in my heart. Like, that's a sound that I heard that like first got me into making that sort of music and kind of blew my mind. In terms of music theory as well, because it's a D major 7 actually. And I'm just gonna play the dun, dun, dun. So it's going in between the 9th and 7th world. Very slightly. Not really slightly, I take that back. But my two favorite worlds to make music in are like, I describe like worlds as in like realms in my head basically, or like areas of music. Like for me, there's two places that I love to make music when I was making that album. And the first one was the 9th world, which is basically, except you add up there, and it's 9ths, 7ths, or 11ths, however you want to arrange them. But the second one was the sustained, or, which is basically you take the major chord and you move the middle note, not to the minor position, but a step further. Or you can move it up one. That's also sustained. Like, just move the middle note around and keep the outer notes there, and it's like a full step away from either the bottom note or the top note. And maybe you can even add like 7ths in there as well. And then you can come back to the 7th if you want. But that's basically the two realms that my mindset was in when I made this. And I thought it'd be nice if I just finished off with like just a little riff that goes in between that theory, which is. Make it full here. Yeah, I mess around with the harmony and almost like it's not like I'm messing around with the harmony in this grand like or anything like that. I'm messing around with it just very slightly, just kind of just or like almost like doodly in a way, and it's a combination of two other worlds as well, really. And that, like, to make something sound like, you know, nice and beautiful and nostalgic, it doesn't need to sound gigantic, like. Like, that was a little odd of an example, but it doesn't need all these chords and to fill up the entire frequency and spectrum and stuff like that, and it doesn't need to, like, explode. It can stay minuscule, really, and it can still, you know, have a place in my heart for sure. And that was the end of the music theory thing. Wahoo! Finally, jeez. Okay, I'm done. Oh my god, I'm happy I went over the music theory, because if I'm being honest, I learned how to play a lot of my songs on the piano, because I have a very bad habit in just making a song on solely the computer and not learning the music theory on the piano. Because it's two different mindsets, really. I come up with stuff on the piano, fine, but I also come up with stuff on the computer as well, and sometimes I don't translate each, and it's much better if I translate stuff from the computer to the piano, because then I'll become a better musician. It's still stuff that I've created, it's just I'm not like the best pianist, but I can play. It's the best of both worlds, and I'm happy I went over this, because to be honest, I learned a thing or two from my music, which sounds kind of odd that, like, you know, wait, you created this, why wouldn't you know how to play this? And it's like, well, it's a little complicated. On the computer, you're almost like drawing notes, you're not really playing them. But when it comes to recordings, I mean, I have some recordings on there as well, which are nice. Thank you very much. If you've noticed me change clothes, because it took like multiple days to completely record, because I was learning my music, and I just got lazy, and I'm applying to colleges, and excuses. Thank you. And yeah, we'll move on to finale, I guess. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but we'll see. Man, there's like nowhere to put you right now. Just finished with the outdoor and music theory, so I thought I'd give like a final send-off thing right now. And you are where I made the album right now. Here. The good old room. Yeah. And this is, I thought I'd bring up a project file that I made. That project file is How to Heal, actually. Banger song, right? Portal is probably the best thing that I've made so far. And I needed a way to just move on from it. And I wanted to, you know, like, close the book of Portal, I guess, and not look back. But I mean, do look back from time to time, because you want to know how you got to where you are right now. But at the same time, I don't want to just like finish the album and then start making music again, because Portal, it would feel like Portal meant nothing, which it meant like a ton. Portal was like, love Portal. It's so cool. I love it. And yeah. So thank you so much for those who have listened. I appreciate you like a ton. You have no idea. And yeah. I actually have already been working on things for like the future in terms of like releases. I already have some more things that I'm gonna be showing fairly soon here, but before I did that, I wanted to close the Book of Portal here. But I don't know if I can give you a sneak peek of what I'm doing right now, but I'm working on a few things right now. I'll give a gesture. So there is another album that I have the idea for, and I have like a few songs, like 2 that are finished. But other than that, it's like nowhere near, like it's gonna take a while. But yeah, I'm gonna be sending those all over and see where they land. But yeah, again, thank you so much for listening. Like, you have no idea how happy it makes me that Portal reached people. Because yeah, I don't know, there's not that much else to say. It's like not a complicated thing. I can make it complicated if I want to, but it's pure and simple, and that's just thank you, like a ton. And yeah, that's about it. I guess this wraps up the documentary. This is weird. Portal's in like the past now. I feel like I can actually finally move past Portal now and work on some other things, because I have a lot of respect for my album. I respect my own album. What the fuck am I saying? It's hard to let go of things that I love in terms of creation, and Portal is definitely one of those things. So know that it happened. It's in the past, and I'm still moving forward, still making cool stuff.
And yeah, the next thing that I'm gonna be working on here is gonna be like a little trailer thing, I guess, maybe. And it's gonna be like a little aesthetic. It'll be like the trailer for the feel of the next album, but or maybe I'll like put something else out. We'll see. We'll see. I'll see, and you'll see. And thank you for watching this. I haven't edited yet, so I don't know how long it is, but if you watch the entire thing, then you are probably one of, if not the best person in the world. For sure. Alright. Ending in 3, 2,